Hi guys, it's me again, and I'm back today to give you some wintry book recommendations based on our December OwlCrate Junior theme, Frost and Ice. So let's get started. So the first book that I have is a wonderful middle grade read called Sky Song by Abi Elphinstone. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. And it is such a beautiful friendship story. I love friendship books, and this one was just like, the characters were so lovable. But basically, it takes place in a wintry world where it's ruled by an evil ice queen. And one of the main characters, Eska, is trapped by this evil ice queen, and this queen wants to like steal her voice to gain immortality. And then another character, Flint, he ends up saving Eska, and Eska and Flint have to kind of journey together to prevent the Ice Queen from destroying this world. So I really loved this book. It's a perfect winter read, and there's just, the characters are so lovable. It's all about friendship and magic, and it's just really well written, so I highly recommend this book. My next book is Breadcrumbs by Ursu. Ursu also wrote The Lost Girls, which we featured earlier this year in one of our OwlCrate Junior books, and it's really good. But basically, Breadcrumbs is a modern retelling of the Snow Queen, and I was really impressed with how Ursu was able to like completely modernize this classic fairy tale, but also keep those like magical, mysterious like elements to the story. Yeah, and it's really good. It's about these two best friends, 11-year-old Hazel and Jack, and Jack gets taken away into the woods by a woman in white, and Hazel has to go save him. So the next book I have is The Polar Bears Explorers Club, and this was a book that was featured in OwlCrate Junior's December box last year, and it's a really fun wintry adventure book. So basically what this book is about is the main character, her father is part of an explorer society, and he takes her out along with a bunch of people on his latest expedition, but then she gets lost along with a bunch of other kids, and they have to trek out of the icelands. But on this journey, they get to meet really fun wintry creatures like yetis and snow fairies and stuff. It's a really great read, and a lot of our subscribers really enjoyed it, so if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend picking it up. Alright, my next book recommendation is a picture book. It's the classic Polar Express. If you've never read this before, go do it now. The illustrations are so beautiful. It's a boy who gets on a night train, and it takes him to the North Pole where he meets Santa. But this picture book, I loved this picture book growing up. It was one of my favorites, and I think it would make a really nice evening if you like read this picture book with your kids and then watch the movie. You can also listen to the audiobook. I heard Liam Neeson does the narration for it, so yeah, something to check out. My next book recommendation is another picture book called The Mitten. I loved this book growing up as a kid. I think I read it like every day for an entire year. So it's about this lost mitten. The kid loses his white mitten in the snow in the woods, and these animals, like there's a fox and a rabbit and a bunny, I believe, they kind of come and like start sniffing around this mitten and try to figure out what it is, and they go inside the mitten and try to create like a little nest and things like that. It's so cute. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's the perfect like wintry read in my opinion. My next book recommendation is an audiobook. It's not really an audiobook. You can like listen to it on Spotify or wherever you find podcasts, but it is A Christmas Carol read by Neil Gaiman. So I believe a few years ago Neil Gaiman did this reading for the New York Public Library, and they have it online. If you just search up Neil Gaiman A Christmas Carol, you'll find it, and it is the best like 1 hour and like 15 minutes like experience you'll ever have, I think. Obviously A Christmas Carol is a very classic tale, but with Neil Gaiman reading it, it kind of like gives it a new light. and he just does such a fantastic job. I can listen to Neil Gaiman read anything, but yeah, this was really good. Alright, and speaking of Neil Gaiman, my last book recommendation is Odd and the Frost Giants. This is a short story that he wrote, and it's about a boy named Odd who meets the Norse gods, Odin, Thor, and Loki, I believe, but they're in their animal forms. And he finds out that Asgard, the city where all the Norse gods live, is invaded by these frost giants, and so he teams up with them and they go and try to save Asgard. So yeah, if you really like Norse mythology, I highly recommend this book. There's like multiple different versions of this book, but I really like the one that's illustrated by Chris Riddle. I'm such a huge fan of Chris Riddle illustrations, and I think he just did such an amazing job illustrating the story. And yeah, I love flipping through this book. I think it's awesome. It's fun, it's whimsical. Yeah. Alright, so those are my wintry book recommendations. If you have any favorites, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for more middle grade reads. But yeah, that's all for me today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome. Bye!